Hi everyone, I'm Danica.
And I'm Sam.
And we're here with some friends today to tell you about the culture of consent that we have here at MacEwan University. Consent is a voluntary agreement to participate in sexual activity.
Consent is enthusiastic, ongoing, and sober.
It's not one of those things that should be like very vague and very difficult to know about the other person. It should be something very straightforward. You should be able to tell it easily.
If you aren't sure that your partner's consenting, that means no. It means you need to stop and you need to check in and make sure that they are consenting.
Consent can never be assumed. Bottom line, write that, get it tattooed on your arm. Consent is never assumed.
A good thing to watch out for is to make sure they're as excited as you are about participating in this act, and that's when you know you're both going to have a great time.
Having someone's consent feels so much better than doing something to somebody where you feel like they're not enjoying that themselves.
If it isn't a yes, it's a no, and you can find this through people's body language. If they're not responding to you touching them, they're not really moving, that means that they're not consenting, and it's not an ongoing and enthusiastic yes, and that's what you need in order to have consensual sex, because if it's not consensual, it's not sex.
You always need to get consent. Consent is every step of the way, and that's the most important thing, is that whenever you're initiating a new act or you're continuing further into the act you're doing, you need to continue to get consent. And if that consent ever isn't there, then you need to stop.
Consent is not a given, and at any given point, you're non-consenting until you decide to be consenting.
If you're confused as to whether or not your partner is consenting or having a good time, that's when you need to stop and check in.
Whenever you initiate a new activity, it's your responsibility to get consent.
It's not up to your partner to say no well enough, it's up to you to make sure that you're getting consent.
Consent is not something that once it's given once, it's given continuously. That's definitely not the case. You can consent to one act and completely not consent to another. And that is 100% your right.
It's not a personal rejection when someone says no. It's important to remember that if you've made it this far with consent, then they probably like you and they're just not comfortable with that particular activity, and that's important to stop and really respect their wishes.
Maybe the person's just really tired, or they're just having a bad day, and they're not saying no because they don't think negatively of you. It's just no because that person that day is not interested.
When someone says no, you should not try to convince them to say yes or coerce them into participating in this activity. They've indicated that they aren't comfortable doing that, and that's all you need, is for them to say no, and you need to stop.
If you have to ask yourself if somebody's too intoxicated to give consent, it means that consent's not there.
If someone's stumbling, they're slurring their words, they're vomiting, or they're passed out, they can't give consent.
People don't have to say the word no in order to mean no. You're not getting consent if somebody's turning away, if they're freezing up, if they're not making eye contact, or they're keeping their clothes on.
Remember, it's not their responsibility to say no well enough, it's your responsibility to get consent.
Jason, can I give you a high five?
Cassandra, of course you can.
Yes. That was a really good high five.
That was a really good high five.
You should never have to convince someone to consent to sexual activity, because that isn't consent.
Communication is key in asking and making sure that it is okay with whatever's happening.
Yeah, there's definitely like a societal belief that everything has to be without speaking. No one says anything, you just kind of assume everything. But that's not really true. A lot of it's like, if you're not sure, ask.
Consent is the law, and it is absolutely essential to get consent before participating in any sexual activity.
It's the law, and it's also MacEwan University's policy. So MacEwan University responds to and investigates to every complaint of sexual violence.
Make sure that maybe your comments and the way you talk with your friends doesn't idolize a non-consent lifestyle.
If somebody tells you a sexist joke, approach them and tell them that it's not funny. We're building a culture of consent on campus.
These comments normalize disrespectful attitudes.
MacEwan University is committed to ending sexual violence on campus.
Learn more about what we're doing at macewan.ca/noplacehere.